We're gonna go over the monthly vouchers and the financial report, go over the director's report. Approve the library director's performance review and goals and contract. And we're gonna set a date for staff appreciation day, which I think will be around September. And any topics that come up that we don't have on the agenda. Okay. The meeting minutes. Does anyone have
Okay,
any feedback for Charlotte?
I sent an email today amending them, including Lee Ann on the attendance sheet. So I have amended them to include her. So you might have other issues, but that's been resolved.
Thank you. Yes. Any other questions for Maureen? Maureen, for Charlotte.
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second,
That's
Judith.
So that's Maureen and Judith.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other comment? All right, I know that my screen seems to be behind. Is my voice delayed when I talk?
No.
No,
No.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure I can switch to my phone. All right, let's vote. Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Lori,
aye.
she's eyeing for everybody. Judith,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
and I am an aye. All right, one down. The monthly vouchers. Matthew, is there anything you'd like to tell us about the vouchers that's unusual or noteworthy?
A lot of materials expenses. We're kind of into our regular routine now, so you'll see a lot of materials expenses. When we get to the financial report, I have one comment on that. Do you want that now, or do you want to separate them?
No, we'll wait. I want to get through the vouchers. Sounds like we may not have much in the way of questions. We'll see. Any questions for Matthew? Going once, going twice?
No.
All right, can I have a motion on the vouchers?
Judith, I move that we approve the vouchers as given.
Okay,
I second.
thank you, Alicia. Okay, any other discussion? Okay. So let's vote. Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Judith,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
and I am an aye. That's unanimous. All right, on to the financial report. Hey, Matthew, what would you like to tell us?
So just as a reminder, this financial report is purely for our internal use. It is not like an official town budget document or anything like that. With that being said, every year when we start the new fiscal year, I kind of look at it and think if I want to make any format changes or anything. And what I did this year is I'm adding a new, where we have all those sort of budget categories as like children's supplies, office supplies, material processing. I'm adding a new line there that I'm going to call consumable supplies. And that's intended to be things that basically are used by patrons that we generally end up paying for from the revolving fund. The bulk of it is going to be paper for the public photocopier that then we charge a photocopying fee for. The reason I'm adding that is in past years, I've always sort of lumped those into some other category. Usually they end up going under office supplies because I don't specify what paper goes in what machine. And I think it's artificial. That's one of those line items that we often are over budget on. And
Right.
I think by pulling those sort of consumable things out, we'll get a clear, more accurate picture of what we're actually spending on office supplies. And
Yeah.
those other items are intended to be, that's one of the purposes of the revolving fund, is to pay for materials that are consumed by patron activity. So it's just a little change.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure we knew what was going on there.
Are you going to add an allocation or keep it zero?
I don't think so, because again, this is not something like, I would not intend on adding this as a subcategory in the actual town's budget.
Yeah.
Again, because it's not being funded by town appropriated money, it's being funded by the revolving fund. But those expenses always got lumped into another, I didn't have another category to put them in. So it was making the office supplies budget look artificially high.
Okay. Does
I
anyone have
like that.
questions?
Okay. Never mind.
Oh, my God.
Maureen, do you have a question?
Oh,
Oh, okay. Your box was highlighted on my screen, so I thought maybe you were about to say
somehow
something.
I turned off my camera. I don't know how I did it, but I did.
That's okay. Okay.
Playing with
No
it.
questions for Matthew? All right. Does someone want to give me a motion for approving the financial report for the month?
I move that we approve the financial report for the month of July 2026 as written.
Thank you.
that cover
Second,
everything?
Judith.
Second, Judith. All right.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Let's vote. Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Judith,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Tracy,
Muted. Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
and I make it unanimous. Okay.
Mhm.
On to the director's report.
There was a phone number that someone called in. I don't know who that is, but I muted that phone, so that might help
That's
the
Lori.
feedback problem. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that was you, Lori?
I think it's Lori.
Okay. So I muted that phone, so that might help your feedback problem. All right, director's report. I'm going to quickly go through some of the statistics. We'll stop for questions, and then there's just a couple items before we get to the rest of the agenda. So circulation this month, we actually set a new record for
Yeah.
total circulation. Most of the credit for that goes to ebook circulation, because we're actually a little below last July in print circulation, but we set some records in digital content. So that's
Wow.
what pushed us up on that number. Sorry, I lost my report. Go back to it here. Constant contact people are creeping up a little bit. I would like to see that number rise faster. So again, we're publicizing that where we can. Amelia is almost done with a bookmark, publicizing that we will then hand out to people at checkout. So I think that is what will really, once we give those personal invitations, that's what'll get that number going up. Because right now it's just been basically social media advertising.
Mhm.
Let's see, nothing real important there. We almost reached our old record for library visits was 186. This month it was 183. So very high circulation visits, but it's July, so it's the summer kids program that is boosting those numbers. We're seeing attendance numbers come back up in all the story times. Saturday story time was not held in July, so that's why there's no numbers there.
Mhm.
Oh, we look at, so chess club, crafting club, gaming club, those are our three kind of teen tween events. And we're seeing the numbers. So I was just curious that last month, chess club had the really high attendance and crafting club had 0. This month, chess club was way down, crafting club was way up. So that's why I don't, when I see 1 0 or 1 low attendance, we really kind of stick with those because
Right.
they vary so much month to month that, if we had said, oh, no one likes crafting club, we would have had we would have been a mistake there. And then all these bottom numbers, those are all, you can see all these summer reading programs, special events that we did. Pretty good attendance at all of those. I think we were at least happy or satisfied with all of those events being well attended. All right, any questions on anything down through that until we get to community center update?
Who was supposed to do the Poetry 101 workshop? Is that either you or, I'm sorry.
No, that was a local, it basically was a local author who came in to
Okay.
donate their book of poetry. And in the process of talking about that donation to the library, we asked if they wanted to do, I think they started off wanting to do like a reading. And we kind of said, well, we don't typically get good attendance at author readings, but how
Right.
about if you did something that was a little more educational? And she came up with this poetry workshop. Unfortunately, we didn't get any registrations. That is being rescheduled. Michaela rescheduled it to like end of September. We're going to try some different publicity, see if we can get some more attendance at that. We were able to, we canceled it a couple days before. So the person like didn't come out and encounter an empty room. We called her and said,
Right.
hey, there's no signups. What do you want to do? Let's just reschedule it.
Yep. Who's DCR on the funding for Boots Along Blackstone?
Yeah, that's the State Department of Conservation and Recreation. So they have a park ranger out at West Hill Dam in Uxbridge, and that park ranger has always been willing to do programs. So we didn't pay anything for it. It was part of their, employment as a park ranger. So we said, oh, it's basically funded by the DCR. And those are always really good. Good content on those. Everyone that goes enjoys it.
Did they come to the library, Matthew?
No, so those programs are generally held off-site. So we did one at West Hill Dam, and we did one at Riverbend Farm. The Riverbend Farm one might have been August, so it'll show up on the next. But they're off-site, so that's one of the challenges for us is making sure everyone who signs up knows the location. We every year we have one or two people show up at the library being, I'm here for the program, and then we have to say, oh, sorry, it's actually on site.
And remind me, who is BBFN?
That is Beginning Years Family Network. They're I think that they're a nonprofit organization that gets funding from the state, and they manage a number of towns around the area, and they're really focused on like early childhood, pre-elementary parenting skills and literacy. They have changed their names. Their acronym is longer now. It's like BBFNCE. They added CE in there somewhere. But they've for many years they've paid for the Deb Hudgens music program, and they also fund this Tools for Tiny Hands is something they fund. They've run a yoga program using the library. It wasn't a library program. They just used our space. I saw a question from Lori about the storyteller, Diane Edgecombe. That was lower than we would have liked. I think, I'm trying to remember what Leanne said. I think we had 12 registered and 10 showed up. So there were some, but Leanne said that was an amazing program. She sat in on it. She really wished more people would have participated because that was a really good program.
Nice. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Matthew?
I can't even speak. I'll put everything in.
Lori's Lori's typing a question, but I'll go on a little bit, and then when Lori's question comes up, I'll answer.
Okay. Yep.
All right, just quickly, no actual date on this yet, but if you remember, there was a leak in the ceiling down near the quiet study rooms. The repair company came out to look at that, and unfortunately, that's going to be a more extensive repair than we thought. It's going to actually involve closing that section of the building for 2 to 3 weeks. So that will be fairly disruptive. Probably we will have to close the access to the quiet study rooms. We're going to move part of the collection and probably close this classroom. So whenever that happens, I said, please give me as much advance notice as we can, so I don't have to be canceling reservations for study rooms. So if you do, I'll let you know as soon as that I know anything more about that. But you may get questions from the public about like, what's going on? Why is there, plastic sheeting hanging over part of the library and things like that.
Do you anticipate that being done in August, September, or any idea?
I have no idea. The company came out to do a walkthrough with the DPW director. This is all going to go through the facilities manager. I have no responsibility or authority over this sort of thing. All I said was, please inform me as far in advance as you can. So hopefully we get a good month's notice, but I mean, it could happen in September. They might say, hey, we're busy. We're not going to do it until January. I have no idea. I'm going to go back to Lori's question. It was about the storyteller. Oh, and wishing. So an alert to remind people, if you register, you get an alert, but if you didn't register and you just miss it, so we're hoping maybe the weekly newsletter, we could do some of that, a little, hey, here's a great program that has low registrations this week, last chance registration kind of thing. Yes, the constant when I say newsletter, that's what I mean the constant contact weekly. Yeah, sorry, I call that a bunch of stuff, but it's the email newsletter is what I mean. All right. Strategic plan, I'm leaving on here. This is basically just a reminder that I need to start working on this. There's no updates, but I'm at a point now where that's my next big sort of policy level project. So I will start working on that introduction and that narrative. We're going to talk about the policy manual later. Summer program officially ended on August 8th. Leanne said there were like 75-ish people at the ice cream social, so that was a good time. We were happy with all the participation this year. I think we have a pretty good format down. Yeah, everything else I think is on the agenda as other items. So let's go right into the ARIS form. If you haven't done a year with us before, so this is a report we do annually. It goes to the state, the MBLC, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. That is the state department that regulates libraries. It is required as part of our certification. Being certified gets us state money, and it gets us access to resource sharing and some grants that we usually don't qualify for. But it's a whole list of statistics about the library and our holdings and our services and our activity. It goes to the state, and then the state puts them all in a database. So librarians and trustees can access it. That's how we can look at, we can say, of all the libraries in our population category, the average circulation is this. It's really nice to be able to compare yourself to other local libraries. This is the first piece. One piece is due in August. That's all about services, circulation, holdings, staffing. The second piece is due usually in October, and it's all about financial, town appropriation and what you spent on what, and salaries and things like that. So they had to switch to a new vendor this year. So Baker and Taylor, the book company, was actually the provider of the databases. So when Baker and Taylor went out of business, the MBLC had to scramble and come up with a new vendor that could do all this data collection. So basically, it's a website that has all the questions listed, and every library director has to type in all their answers, and then the trustees vote to approve it, and the chairman signs it. So I did actually download the whole report. Unfortunately, the download option, it came out in a terrible format. It's very hard to understand. Usually it prints last year's numbers, so you can at least compare, hey, how did we do compared to last year? This printout did not do that. The version I see on the website that I can actually enter data into does display much more nicely. So I usually pick out a few highlights, anything that's unusual or has changed from year to year. There was nothing, I mean, this year was very, very similar to last year. I think I'm going to see what I pulled out. Slight increases to all item collections. We're almost back to having to weed again, so that'll sort of level out. Circulation was up a total of 8%, which is good. Every individual category went up except for physical audiobooks. So that's like books on CD. And curiously, this number is the one that bugs me every year. We're always a net borrower, which means we take in more interlibrary loans than we send out, which always surprises me because we deliberately use the most generous lending policies, every CWMARS option that we can take to make our collection fulfill holds, we take. I think that we buy some unusual things. We have some, we're the only library that has a number of series. But I guess we also are very aggressive about placing holds. Like we encourage patrons, place a hold. Don't wait for it to be on the shelf, place a hold. And our staff place a lot of holds for people. So I guess we're just a very aggressive resource sharer.
Well, you also have many libraries in that group. So it's you one versus what, 15 other libraries?
Well, there's like 180 libraries in
Oh,
CWMARS now, but generally the amount, we're requesting from all those libraries, but we're also sending out to all those libraries. So I think it would balance a little bit. I don't know, maybe some libraries just have a higher materials budget. One thing we don't do, we kind of talked about this in the collection development policy, is we tend to not buy multiple copies. So one way to become a net lender would be buy, 10 copies of everything on the New York Times bestseller list, and then they're going to be gone on holds all the time. So anyway, was there anything, did any trustees look at this document or have any questions about it or what it's for or what the numbers are, anything like that?
Okay, so I
Okay.
believe, Matthew, we have to take a vote to authorize me to sign it. Is that right? Or is that the October one?
No, both of them need to be either a vote to
Okay.
approve it or a vote to authorize the chairperson to sign. And the deadline for this is Friday. So as soon as it's authorized, if you can, you're going to be away, right?
Yeah, I'd have to come in tomorrow morning.
Okay. Is that possible for you? You can do that?
Yeah, I can. Our flight's not till 5:20 in the afternoon. So we're
Okay,
not gonna
I
leave for
will-
the airport. Yeah, until about 2. So I'll be home in the morning.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. So as soon as I get
Yeah.
in the morning, I have to print the signature sheet and then you can come in and sign it. Sometimes if it doesn't line up, sometimes the due date doesn't line up with the nearest trustee meeting. So sometimes I have to ask Debbie to sort of sign it before it's actually been approved by the trustees, and that happens
Right.
sometimes.
Yep. Okay. All right, if there are no questions for Matthew based on the overall summary that he gave us on the report, then can someone give me I don't know, my brain is not working tonight.
A motion?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Can someone give me a motion to approve?
I move that we accept, I'm not sure what we're accepting. That's why I didn't make a motion.
I guess you could say authorizing me to sign the document. How's that?
Okay, Maureen, move that we accept a motion for Deb Amarello to sign the document that Matthew needs signed. I don't know what it is.
Eris. Yeah, it's an Eris.
Eris document. Thank you.
Charlotte knows that. Yep.
I was listening,
Second,
but I
Judith.
just Wasn't processing.
Second.
Yep.
Okay. Last questions. Lori, I know you have to go at 7 o'clock, so if you have to go, just sign off. Why don't we get your vote anyway before you leave? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, God.
All right, Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Judith,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Charlotte.
Aye.
Okay, and I am an aye. It's unanimous, so I will be there. What time do you get in, Matthew?
Around 9, and then
Okay,
by 9:15 I can have it printed.
okay. All right, the Town Manager Act memo is next.
All right, so this is coming back up. If you'll remember, this has been going on. So revisions to the Town Manager Act got approved in, I believe, spring of 2024, so 2 years ago. And ever since then, it's been bouncing back and forth between town lawyers and state lawyers because the Town Manager Act has to be approved by the state legislature. And the town manager, so some of the changes to the Town Manager Act were very vague, and it wasn't clear what they actually meant in terms of the relationship between the library trustees and the library director and the town manager. So we've been working on this document, which is supposed to be a memo that both boards approve its final form, and it will lay out the exact parameters, authorities and responsibilities. So we've gone through many drafts of this, if you've been on the board, and we had gotten to a point where we had something we were happy with. The trustees approved it. We took it to a select board meeting, and they said, well, the lawyers, the state attorney general has not approved the final form of the act yet, so we don't even want to look at this until that's been done. So since then, that was probably close to a year ago. I think that was last November or October or something. Since then, we now have a new town manager, and some of her opinions on things are a little different. She has decided now is a good time to bring this back up and get it negotiated and approved. There have been more revisions to the act. It is not in its final form yet, but the current town manager is suggesting that this is the memo will apply no matter what final form of the act is approved. So that's the tack she's going to take. And so I sat down with, basically what happens is I sit down with the town manager and the HR director. We negotiate some language, and then it comes to the board because trying to have both boards have a joint discussion never works well. So ultimately one board has to approve it first, and then they take that to the other board. And then somewhere in there, town council has to review it. So we have a new draft of this. Initially, when I asked Debbie to put this on the agenda, I had suggested it was just going to be informational, just to let you know that the process was starting again. Since then, it sounds like the town manager is happy with the latest draft we talked about, and she's going to move ahead with sending it to town council. Usually, town council is the last person that looks at, because they are very picky about wording and stuff. So if boards want to edit or make changes, usually that happens before town council, because if town council approves one wording and then an elected board wants to change one word to a different adjective, then it has to go back to town council. So I don't know what order the current town manager really, so it's got to be looked over by town council, then approved by both the trustees and the select board, and that can happen in any order. So I wanted you to at least be aware that was happening, and then if you want to look at the actual changes, there's two kind of substantive clauses that are being added to the last draft you looked at. You can do that. You can discuss it tonight. If you can give me some idea if you're happy with it, then I'll just tell the town manager, proceed with your process. If you're unhappy with it, the sooner she knows about that, the better, because then she won't go ahead with trying to get it approved by the select board if she knows that the trustees aren't happy with it. I will say the revisions that the lawyers have made to the act are very substantive. A lot of times they're just sort of clerical, and this got approved at town meeting, and in the town meeting vote, they usually say subject to changes of form only. In my opinion, and I have expressed this to the town manager, I think some of the changes the lawyers are proposing are substantive enough that I feel like the vote that approved it at town meeting, I think the current document no longer reflects what was approved at town meeting, and I think the revised version should go back to town meeting. One of the biggest changes that I picked up on is the lawyers changed some of the definitions of what a town officer is in such a way that the revised version of the act now says the town manager appoints the library director, whereas
Oh,
the version that was approved at town meeting specifically excluded the library director and the rec director from that list of appointed positions. Now, when I brought that up to the current town manager, and she said, well, of course, it's not my intention to interfere with the trustees hiring process. And that's why in the memo of understanding that we're looking at, it still specifically says the library trustees are the, appointing authority for the library director. But the town manager is now viewing that as, through this memo, she is delegating that authority to the trustees, as opposed to before it was a by right authority of the trustees. So I'm not entirely sure
So
where we
Matthew,
want
are
to
you
go
saying
with
she
this.
still basically takes precedence over the member of understanding? Oh, I shouldn't have asked
That was one of there was that revision and a couple other revisions. So that, to me, that is a change of intent that was made after it was approved by town meeting. Now, honestly, when it hits town meeting floor, it's going to pass, right? If they put it back to a vote, I don't see the voters of Upton standing up and saying, no, we absolutely have to preserve the authority of the library trustees. So my feeling is probably this memo of agreement is probably the best vehicle we have to express what we think the library trustees' role should be. And it is, once it's approved, it is binding on the town manager. It does specifically say this is what the town manager has to do. The only downside is it can be changed by either board. So if the selectmen 5 years from now decide, hey, nope, the library trustees are not the appropriate group to select a department head, a library director, we're going to take that authority back. They can't unilaterally change the memo, but they can unilaterally reject the whole thing. Right.
After signing it, they can reject it.
Yes, because it's not binding on like future boards, right? So a future board or a future board of trustees can say, hey, we don't agree with what those guys did in 2026. We're going to void this agreement. The town manager can't do that unilaterally, but the select board could. And if that happened, let's say the two boards couldn't agree on what the memo should say, then it's going to default to what's written in the Town Manager Act, and the lawyers will have a field day with saying, well, this says the way, if this says a town officer is defined as this, and this says, what's the difference between appointing and hiring, and it's very complicated.
Oh, boy.
So, I mean, there's
Okay.
good things in here. I mean, the memo of agreement, I think, is pretty good. It definitely protects the authority of the trustees over the library director, and setting goals and setting the budget. And those are the three kind of, I guess, most important authorities of the Board of Trustees are hire the library director, set the goals for the library director, and set the budget request. So as long as those three things are preserved, the rest of it is kind of up there. So the things that got added from last time, I mean, so it definitely, we have in there, the Board of Trustees continues to have custody and management of the library, all areas specifically devoted to library use. So the memo definitely says in section 3B, we've kept in there, the Board of Trustees serves as the appointing authority for the library director, and the library director works
Okay.
under the policy direction of the Board of Trustees. So that's in the memo, which is good. But the changes that the lawyers made to the act state something different. So if this memo ever falls apart
Oh.
and it reverts to the act, could be a problem.
Well, what can we do?
Well, I mean, if you felt really strongly that the changes to the act were bad, again, I think it would be appropriate to suggest to the select board and the town manager that, hey, these changes to the act are so substantive that it does not reflect what was voted at town meeting. And that could probably force the select board to take the town manager act back to a town meeting, finish all the revisions and then say, okay, we're taking the final version back to a town meeting. Then the library trustees would have to get up at town meeting and say, we disagree with X, Y, and Z, and this is why. My opinion is that's probably not going to go well. Usually the voters of Upton don't like to have arguments over the wording of legal documents on the town meeting floor. And usually what happens is everyone gets upset and whatever was originally presented gets approved. That's been with zoning, think of times you've seen someone stand up and say, I don't like this zoning bylaw you're proposing.
Mhm.
Usually whatever got presented first is going to get approved.
Yeah.
But if you felt strongly enough, that would be your avenue to be upset to make changes to the Town Manager Act. Now, this memo is a little different. This memo is an agreement between two elected boards. It doesn't involve town meeting. It can be edited. Either board can say, hey, we want to change the memo. We want to edit it. Oh, we don't like it at all anymore. So I think this memo is probably realistically the best we're going to get.
Okay.
And the memo does specifically say, black and white, very clear, the library board of trustees are the appointing authority. So that's good. That's in there. Keeping the, I'm down to 3F now, clearly says the board of trustees will do the annual goals for the library director. That's very important. And the annual appraisal review. Then what got added, the two pieces that got added were one, that the town manager can impose disciplinary actions or place the library director on administrative leave when warranted. And then that action will have to be reviewed and consulted with the board of trustees. Again, this is new to the memo, but it is pretty clear in the revised act that the town manager can do this to any town employee. This is not singling out the library director. It's just kind of making it clear. And this is a protection for the town because just in case, if a library director starts committing financial malfeasance or fraud or, God forbid there was an accusation of harassment or something, it has happened in the past that the executive authority of the town manager had to immediately put a town employee on administrative leave without time to consult the board. This isn't like, oh, you're, using too much sick time or I don't like your schedule. This is, you've committed some credible action that we have to get you away from the public immediately. And so I'm okay with it. It sounds like a lot of power and authority, but it's probably authority the town manager technically already has. And it's probably a good protection for the town and the trustees. And then the next one, again, it sounds scary. It's the town manager may intervene in actions or decisions of the library board of trustees that are contrary to applicable federal or state law when necessary to protect the town and its employees from legal and financial liability. Again, that sounds like a lot of power, and it is, but it's probably power the town manager already has just by the existing act. Just because, I mean, you guys are fine, you're very professional, but you could easily imagine a member of the board or a board as a whole that, you're not lawyers, you don't know, you could easily violate someone's civil rights. You could easily, do something that's against the First Amendment. And it's a way for the town manager to say, hey, wait a minute. Nope. We're going to stop and reconsider this before you do, So both those clauses sound like it's a lot of power and authority the town manager has, but in reality, they probably already have that power, whether you sign this memo or not.
Okay.
So I will just say I'm pretty comfortable with the current state. If we get if we get some, micromanaging, ego-driven town manager in the future, they can cause a lot of problems, but that is going to be true probably no matter what this memo says. We'll just have to rely on the professionalism and the other checks and balances in town. So I'll let trustees weigh in from here.
Has everyone had a chance to read the changes from the previous version?
Mhm.
It's only those 2 paragraphs, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Any feedback? Anything you want to offer? Comments, questions? Okay. Does someone want to make a motion to approve it? It doesn't sound like we're going to be able to do anything substantive about it, so.
Debbie, what I would suggest maybe is instead of taking a motion tonight, because this may go through a few more, it's got to go through legal counsel, maybe slightly different. If you could maybe just do a consensus or something, if I can then go to the town manager and say, hey, the Board of Trustees in general terms is okay with the current draft, then she can do what she has to do. Maybe the lawyers tweak it a little. Maybe the select board wants to chime in. And then at some point, we'll bring back a final draft and say, all right, this is the one that we want to approve.
Yeah, I forgot about the lawyers. Yeah, we should approve the one that the lawyers approved. So, okay. Does anybody have any substantive problems with it? Or are we pretty much in agreement that Matthew can tell the town manager we're okay with it? Okay, I hear I see a lot of nodding heads,
Yes.
so you're good.
Yep.
I'm not sure
All
what
right,
that
thank you. Like I
flexibility
said,
says.
we've been working on this for a long time. Debbie and I, even when the Town Manager Act was getting revised, Debbie and I provided a lot of input to that process, which and basically got ignored, and they did what they wanted to do anyway.
Correct.
But once the act got changed, there's limited avenues for what we can do to
Right.
modify that. And I think this memo is about as good as we're going to get in terms of preserving the authority of the library trustees.
Unreal. Okay, on to the staff update.
Staff update. So we have one employee who is resigning, Erin Gardner. She was our weeknights person. She got offered a full-time position at another library, and obviously that was a great opportunity for her. So we are sorry to see her go, but excited that she's moving on in her career. I did ask her to put that fact in her resignation letter. So when we now have one more piece of evidence, when I go to the personnel board and say, we need to make a full-time circulation position or we're going to lose people, I'm not just making things up, it's actually happening. So she was cooperative and did that for us. So the job is already posted. HR got right on it. I've talked to a few people that have indicated they're applying. Usually we get a mix of local people that know the library and think it would be a great place to work, and then we get a group of applicants that there's a library jobs board that, again, the MBLC posts. That's basically where you look if you want to work in libraries in Massachusetts. And then we get a group of applicants who see it on there and maybe have some library experience or something like that. So that process has started. We've, over the last couple years, as we've hired for this position, we've sort of tweaked how the process goes. And at this point, there's basically no role for the library trustees in this process. It's myself, HR, and the personnel board. So, probably you won't hear anything about it until I tell you we have a finalist. I think at this point, we still have the library trustees vote to, you are the hiring authority, which has some weird meaning in the personnel manual. So I think usually there is a vote for you to actually accept the final candidate, but it's very odd because usually we can't tell you the names or anything about the resumes. You're basically rubber stamping my decision because I'm not allowed to share any information about their qualifications or anything like that.
I don't know about everybody else, but I don't want to. I don't want to do that anymore. I really don't. it's,
think
we're
Sandy would be
approving somebody
fine.
that we trust you, but it's just, it's ridiculous for us to say, sure, you can hire candidate X, and we don't know anything about them. I mean, if we don't have to vote, my vote is that we don't vote.
Okay. I think HR's
But-
opinion at this point, based on the personnel manual, is that there basically is no role for the library trustees at this
Right.
level of hiring. And
Right.
they would be, HR would be perfectly happy if I told them, hey, the trustees aren't going to vote on this. It's just going to be me and HR.
Yeah, and I would appreciate it if this happens, if others agree and we want to do that, I would ask you to tell the HR director why we don't want to vote on it.
Yeah. And it actually would make it less awkward because, because the reason it's awkward is because the time it comes to the trustees, like we haven't made a job offer yet. It's like authorization to make the job offer. So if we do it, if HR and I pick a finalist, we can make the job offer, we can do the reference checks, which we're not allowed to do the reference checks until someone's already accepted the job offer, which is super awkward because then if you get a bad reference, you have to tell them you're withdrawing the job offer. So I hope that never happens. We had one applicant for children's librarian that had a reference check that we had to do a lot of discussion on, but for this level, we've never had a problem. So basically, the only thing you would hear is if we have a candidate who's accepted, then I could come to the next trustee meeting and be excited and say, hey, I can tell you all about the wonderful person we hired. Because at that point, they'd be a town employee and I can share their name and with a little bit about their background and what they're excited to do.
Right.
Do you have a time frame for this, Matthew?
I don't typically, I don't like to rush the hiring process. I like to get a lot of candidates and I take someone we're excited about, not just the best of whatever we got. So I usually like to give a good 4 weeks from when the job posting is up till we start looking at candidates. So the job posting went up, I think it was last week. So probably I'd say we'd look at candidates until beginning of like first week in September. Maybe we do interviews in the second or third week in September. There's one wrinkle with the time frame is I will be out of the country on vacation the last week in October and the first week in November. So I either want to hire someone early enough that I have a good 3 weeks to work with them before I'm gone for 2 weeks, or it would have to get the start date would get delayed until I get back. So ideally I'd like to see a early October start date. If that doesn't work out, then it would get bumped to like an early November start date.
Okay. All right. That's that. Any other feedback from Matthew about this? All right. You
Just
said you're
another,
moving.
yeah, that's my other staff update. It's not really going to affect probably anything about my work, but I am moving from Uxbridge to Blackstone. So that's exciting. We're in the moving process right now.
Okay. All right, good. Anything else on the report? Fulte, they have their silent reading book club on the 4th Thursday of the month. And that's about it. Correct?
Yes, and they're not meeting during the summer and they're not doing their monthly meetings, but they will start meeting again in September, and then they're going to
Right.
dive right into the end of September Heritage Day book sale. So that'll be their next big event.
Right. Yep.
Oh, and they sponsored the end of the summer reading program, Ice Cream Social. They bought the ice cream and dished it out to the kids. So they do both the kickoff and the finale usually for the summer program.
Okay. All right. On to the library director's performance review. Does anyone have any feedback for me? Changes you want to suggest? Additions, deletions, anything?
Debbie, I have one item on the goals list. I don't know if you wanted to separate the evaluation from the new goals, but I have a suggestion, I guess, on the new goals.
Okay, no, I mean, I think it's one document for the town, so we'd probably approve it as one document, I think.
Okay. I just want to go back. So we talked quite a bit about passports and how to manage that and what the trustees would like to see. I just again want to repeat, I don't think changing the parameters of passport services is a goal for the library director. I would rather see that voted separately as a policy of the library trustees.
Okay, because it's us who wants to do it and not you, right?
Correct.
Okay, okay. I think that's fair. Anything else?
No, the rest of them looked fine. I appreciate you rewording some of those based on the feedback from last time, and
Yeah.
the others all look pretty good, and I'm excited to work on them.
All right. Does someone want to give me a motion on the amended performance review, removing the passport application bullet?
Yes, can I just ask a question on the? 'Cause I
Sure.
think hearing them as combined, I just, having just joined the board in June, as far as approving the performance goals, I don't know that I have enough knowledge of the past year to vote, and so would abstain, but I don't know if I can, I understand if it's one big document, but I would abstain from the performance from last year, but would want to vote on
Sure.
next year. And I don't know if that's possible to separate the two. And it's only because I truly don't feel like I can fairly can fairly assess, other than really loving the library, and my attendance there. So
That's a good question. I do not know if we can split it. I guess I'd rather you abstain in all of it.
okay.
And because I don't know that we can split it up. I mean,
Okay.
unofficially we can, but I
Sure.
think
No,
for the
that's fine.
for the town, it's a single document that's, performance, last year's goals, how did you do, and this year's goals. So
Okay.
I guess that's what I would do.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that.
fair?
I wanted to ask before we got
Yep.
moving on that. So thank you.
For sure. Yep. Does someone want to make a motion on it or give me a question and comment? No one
I
wants to
vote
give
to
me a
approve,
motion.
yeah, I vote to approve the library director review as written, removing the passport application process bullet.
And
I
that's,
second.
that's Lauren, right?
That's Lauren, yes.
Okay, your screen froze for a second, so I wasn't sure
Oh,
whose
good,
mouth was
okay.
moving.
That's me.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Maureen. Thank you,
Alicia?
Lauren, for getting it all in too.
Whoever, me or Maureen, who it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's vote. Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Judith,
Aye.
Alicia? Thumbs up?
Alicia's muted.
Yeah, you're muted. I don't know
Sorry.
if you know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
And Tracy is abstaining,
Abstain.
and Charlotte? Did I
Aye.
already ask? Okay.
No.
And I am an aye as well, considering I wrote it. So, or a lot of it. All right.
So Debbie,
All right.
do the trustees, I know we discussed the whole passport issue a lot last month. I think everybody knows the pros and cons and what their opinion is. Do you want to vote on that policy now? Do you want to do it at a future meeting so it can be separate on the agenda? Pretty much the most important thing I want to know is I would like the trustees to set a date for this change in policy
Sorry.
so I can adjust how we
Sorry,
take
sorry.
appointments and things like that.
Okay. Well, it's
I know,
7:30.
I feel like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
No, I think it should be a separate agenda item, so we put some thought into it. I'd hate to just do it tonight quickly, and I really want to think about it.
Okay. Does that sound good with everyone? We'll put it on the September agenda. I mean, I don't think there's any, rush to do this. So It's something
Right.
we've talked about though for at least 2 years, it seems like. So,
Mhm.
we do want to take care of it, but let's put it on next month's agenda.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. And Matthew, do I just send the review to the HR director?
Technically, it's supposed to be signed by you and I. On
Okay.
the form that I use for all the other employees, there's a signature line. So yeah, I'm supposed to get and keep a copy signed by both of us, and a signed copy is supposed to go to HR.
Can we do that tomorrow at the same time I'm signing the ERIS document?
Try to print it,
No,
or
I'll
will
print
you?
it. I'll
Okay.
print it and bring 2 copies. We can just sign anywhere, I assume. It doesn't have to be, I mean, it'll be at the end, but we're all set there. Yeah, I'll do it.
And the
do it.
contract as well. So again, that should be signed. They used to not care. Nobody cared about the contract. I just kept a copy, and John Robertson kept a copy. But last year, actually, there was kind of a big to-do about what was in every employee's employment contract, and that now they are all posted on the town website somewhere if you want to go see what the DPW's director's contract looks like.
So the town officially wants you to have a contract?
Well, they'd prefer employees didn't have contracts, but the ones that do have contracts, they now want a copy of them. Because apparently
Okay.
there was like an issue at town meeting where either the FinCom didn't realize that one of the contracted employees was getting a vehicle allowance, and they were like, well, who'd authorize that? That's not normal. And then it was a whole big deal so it was a transparency thing that now anybody that does have a contract, there's a page on the town's website where they are posting those contracts.
Okay, and Matthew, is this a document you want to continue with? I mean, John Robertson started it many years ago, and it's sort of unofficial. I'm not quite sure what authority that document has, but
I do want to continue with it because,
okay.
Again, I think it's important to emphasize that the library director does have a written contract, and because the important thing is that contract can have things that are different than what's in the employee manual. For example, especially if you were going to hire someone new, they might want to negotiate some things outside of the employee manual, and this is the only way to do it. For example, when the new ESS director was hired, she asked the town to match the weeks of vacation she was getting at her previous job, and that was put in her contract because the employee manual says your first year you get 1 week of vacation. There's no way to make an exception for that. So
Right.
it's important, I think, just
Okay.
to set the precedent that the library director has a contract, and that contract can say something that's different than what's in the personnel manual.
Okay. All right. So the contract, I think, only has a couple of changes each year. Obviously, the dates, and the salary, but the salary is a fixed salary. It's already been determined. It's in the budget. It's in the town's records. So there's really nothing that we updated that hasn't been in the contract for years. So
Right.
unless there's something incorrect about it, typo, whatever, that's basically what has been signed every year. It's a pretty simple contract.
Yeah, and it just says we'll follow whatever in the personnel manual. It's good to have it because, I mean, I don't think I have intentions of doing that, but it's possible at some point we might say, hey, we want to negotiate a, vehicle allowance or a, travel stipend or a mileage reimbursement or something, or like I said, a
Right.
different amount of vacation time or a different percentage for healthcare or something. It's just, it's a good document to have.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion on approving the contract?
I move to approve the contract. Tracy?
And
Second,
Tracy, do
Judith.
you want to second?
Yeah.
Tracy?
No, Judith. Tracy
Oh,
made
yeah, no, I
the,
got that. But who was the second? Was that Tracy?
Judith.
Who was the
Tracy made
first?
the motion. Tracy?
Tracy made the motion. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. Sorry. Okay. Well, it's good to have our lawyer be the one making the motion. All right. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Lauren,
Aye.
Maureen, Judith,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
and I am an aye. That is unanimous. Okay. And now we're on to Staff Appreciation Day. Charlotte, why don't you just recap what we did last year, just briefly for those of us who may not have been around at that point.
Sure. Yeah, some trustees were very generous, and I mean, all the trustees are very generous. Some donated money, some donated goods. And we took orders from the library employees for drinks. So those were, individualized. And we set up early in the morning of the day that Matthew was doing the staff training, I believe, right, Matthew, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. This year, I don't think it's going to coincide. So this year we'll just be set up in the library on a regular library day, which I believe will be a Tuesday, we decided.
Yeah, I think Matthew, you had said the most employees, that not everybody is there on one particular day, but the most employees are there on a Tuesday. Is that still the case?
Yes, we get everybody but one on Tuesday. Every other day
Okay.
we're missing two.
Okay, all right. Okay,
So Deb, I wanted
So-
to say this ahead of time. I would love to coordinate it again or whatever, to be part of it in some way. But I can only do it on September 8th, Tuesday. I take a course that starts on the 15th for the next like 12 Tuesdays, so I can't. But that's just me. So if other people would prefer a different date, that's fine.
okay. That's the day after Labor Day. Any issues with that, Matthew, do you think?
I don't think so. Let me take a quick look at my schedule, but
Okay.
No, it should be as good as any other Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, Charlotte, we want to take advantage of your knowledge on doing this in the past. So
Okay.
unless someone has a problem with it, why don't we do it on the 8th?
Okay, now I forgot to add that with the very generous donations, I was able to go to places like Muffin House and and get those drinks and all that. So it was great. People were very generous.
And will you send out an email
Yep.
with our options, what we can volunteer for or contribute?
Yep, definitely.
Also,
Okay.
Matt, did you get a list of anything from your folks?
I did, yes. And I just want to say, just for feedback, the employees really appreciated the gesture and they enjoyed all the items, but we kind of felt like we weren't able to consume everything, so maybe
It was a lot of stuff.
less of the perishable goods. And then I do have this list that Alicia suggested, and I gathered the information that everybody's evaluating. So I have a specifically of like non-perishable things that they could kind of have
Great.
stocked in our kitchen and consume them slowly over time. So if anything less, pastries and things that need to be eaten the day of and more of those things. I do have that list. I can share it. Some people were very specific and gave me like, oh, this is the flavor of, vitamin water that I like. And some just said anything that's covered in chocolate. So, I can share that just with
Okay.
Charlotte if you want. I
Yeah.
can share it with the whole
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, why don't you send it to Charlotte and then she'll funnel it down to us with
Yeah, because I'll be
volunteers to
exactly.
buy the stuff or money to buy the stuff.
Sure.
Either way.
Yeah.
And then my other question was, Charlotte, do we want this to be a surprise, or should I tell everyone on September 8th, plan on, not bringing a snack because there's going to be something there?
Yeah.
I mean, I love surprises, but what do you think?
I
Was it a
don't love
surprise last
surprises, so
year?
I'd go the other way, but you're the one who's organizing it, so.
Maybe you
Was
should
it a
tell them.
surprise
So
last year, Charlotte?
I don't think it was a surprise last year.
Okay.
I think because it was the staff training, I think I did tell everyone,
Oh.
bring a
Right.
lunch, but there will be additional refreshments.
Yeah.
And obviously I had to tell them why I was asking them what drinks they
Right.
liked. So the non-perishable part is not a
Fair.
surprise.
So Matthew, so we'll tone down the sugary goodies, but I think we had fruit too. Do you think that would still be appropriate? Some pieces of fruit and.
Yes, definitely they liked it. It was
Okay.
just, it was more than we could
Yeah,
consume before it went bad.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
So smaller portions, but the same stuff. Everyone loved the choices. It was just, we felt bad because we couldn't eat it all until it was no good.
I understand.
Okay. All right, September 8th. All right. And
Mhm.
Charlotte will be the point person on that.
Yeah.
Great. And Charlie, you'll
Okay.
just reach out to us offline or on email about all of that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Charlotte, you have
Okay.
Venmo?
Somebody
You
had a
have Venmo?
question.
I was asking Charlotte
Um,
if she had Venmo.
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I can put that on there too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Mhm.
All right, library policy manual. I guess we're gonna discuss it anyway. Or begin discussing it. So Matthew, how do you want to do this? I've reviewed it. I don't know if anybody else has reviewed it and have comments to make on it. I sent my questions to Matthew in the document.
Oh,
Yeah, so those sort of public comment suggestions, it's a shared Google document. The way that you did that, Debbie, was super helpful. And certainly I could go through and answer each of those. I did glance through them. I actually get a little alert. So as you were typing, they were like coming up as alerts in my email. So I've
Wow.
looked at most of them, and I think all of yours are just questions I could easily explain. I didn't see anything from
Yes.
your suggestions that would lead to a substantive content change. There's
Correct.
the one about filing reports with the police department. That's one where it might just be a little wording change, because it's helpful to me to have someone else read it who's not like immersed in library jargon. So
Right.
if the average person would interpret something differently than the way the average librarian would, it's a chance for that to get caught. So I guess it's kind of up to the trustees at this point. I mean, if you want to do individual reviews and leave comments like Debbie did, if you want to do a subgroup and sometimes there's 2 or 3 trustees that are really interested and want to provide a lot of feedback and they get together. It has to be a posted meeting, but it doesn't have to be a meeting of the whole board. You can do that. If you think you're close enough that I could just verbally address Debbie's comments and that would make everyone feel ready to approve the document, you can do that. I haven't gotten past legal counsel yet, so again, it's a little bit of it's always who goes first, the approval of the board, or because you don't want to send it to legal counsel until you're pretty sure you're not making any more changes. But then sometimes legal counsel comes back with changes. So maybe the best thing for me is if maybe the trustees have a consensus that they don't have any substantive concerns, they're happy with the content in theory, then you guys can sort of verbalize that consensus, and then I can say, great, now I feel confident taking selected board. I'm not going to send the whole thing to town council because that would be too expensive, but some of it,
Right.
there's some of the new ones I want them to look at. Anything that comes anywhere close to a restriction on free speech, those are basically the ones I want them to look at. The bulletin board policy, I want to make sure that I can forbid political advertisement. I'm not 100% sure I can, but I really hope I can. So some of
Yeah.
those selected policies I may send, the internet use policy. But how do the trustees feel? Do you want to look at it more? Are you ready to say, yeah, it's good now? Do you want to wait for another meeting and I address Debbie's comments? Do you want me to it would probably take me 15 minutes to give verbal responses to all of Debbie's comments.
Charlotte?
Yeah, I don't know how to do what Debbie did with the document. I don't know why I don't know how to do it. But anyway, I found 4 areas. They were just small changes, and some of it was because things were out of date. That's all. So I could send those to you, Matthew, if you want, in an email.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's up to you. Or I could just
Yeah,
tell
how
you they're
about-
easy. They're
There
very
was
easy
nothing
things.
substantive.
No, nothing that, in my opinion, nothing substantive, just a
Okay.
few things to add or change.
Mm.
Well, how about if we're going to make those changes, if people still want to provide feedback, let's not try to approve tonight.
Mhm.
Maybe push it one more meeting. Maybe say, oh, we'll plan on not a vote to approve, but at least get to a
Vote to
final
send it to the
draft.
lawyer.
A vote to
Right.
send it to the lawyer, sure. Yeah. If we do that at the next meeting, then maybe within, if you want to provide any feedback to me, do that within the next 2 weeks. And then I can sort of, I'll take any feedback I get, put it in, I can put it as comments in the Google Doc, and then I'll send that back out to everybody one more time so you can see all the suggestions, and then give me, like I said, maybe 15, 20 minutes to sort of go through the document at a meeting and address, because I think a lot of the things Debbie pointed out, like the whole board may have had the same question, or it's something I can educate everyone on, because a lot of them are just like, oh, I didn't know the library did that. So, give me a little time. I'll go through all of those
Mhm.
comments that come in, and then we can have a clean document or change a few words, and then do that vote to send to the lawyers.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to learn
So-
how to do the comments. Okay.
Feel free to email me. You can just say, on this page, if you're easier typing them out and sending them just in an email to me, you can do that too.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone else either mock up the document like I did or send Matthew an email in the next couple of weeks. Judith?
Or call me if
Fine,
you'd rather
yeah.
sit down in my office and just talk to me about it. We can do that too. If you want to just, hey, or maybe you have a question you're not sure you want to become a comment at a trustee meeting, you can just come say, hey, what does this mean? I don't understand what this is, or why did you use this words? So feel free to do that. If you're more comfortable just meeting with me one-on-one, we can do that. The only thing you can't do is have 3 of you meet at your house and discuss it.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Matthew right now about the document? Okay. On to number
Oh.
9. Oh,
Debbie,
yeah.
can I actually bring one up? So I actually had one thing that came up that is a policy level thing I wanted you to think about. So this was one of the ones that Debbie said, hey, why is this highlighted in red? It relates to photocopying. So what I did in this policy, we have a photocopying policy, which is first 5 pages free. Everything after that has a per page charge. We make some common exceptions. We give more pages free for certain usage, tax forms, medical forms, state permits, things like that. So what I did in the pause is I codified, I listed some of those, these are exceptions to the limit that library staff can apply at their discretion. And the question came up, what about the friends of the library? Do we want to allow basically free photocopying for stuff the friends of the library do it? Past practice is we typically, if they want to run off 20 copies of a flyer or they're promoting an event, we allow them to do that. But maybe we don't want to make it unlimited free access, because if they want to send a newsletter to every PO box, right? Do we want to let them copy 1,000 flyers at the library, or is that where we say, okay, now you want to go to this is a policy level. I want to bring it to the trustees. You could say no exceptions. They pay after 5 pages. They pay just like every other nonprofit pays. You could say unlimited access, and we'll hope they don't abuse that generosity. Or you could pick a page limit and say, okay, I put 50 in as a suggestion. You could say 100, whatever you think will cover the majority of their usage while still not
Right,
giving them a free for all for it.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, everybody should think about that
Yeah.
for next month. I think we do want to make an exception for them because they're
Yeah.
helping us. But, you know, maybe putting a limit on it might be a good idea. I don't think they're going to abuse it, as you said. But you never know what will happen. I mean, we could always say anything over 100 pages is subject to the library director's approval. Where you could say, all right, 125, I can approve that. 1,000, you know, I'm not going to approve that.
Mhm.
Does that,
If you're
No?
going that route, I would prefer that the exceptions go to the library trustees. Like, you may maybe say up to 100 is free automatically. Anything more than 100 would have to be a request. I don't want to be the one who has to say,
Okay.
no, you
Okay.
can't do your newsletter.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
okay.
that's fine.
Mhm.
All right, well, that's good feedback. So we'll discuss that maybe at the next meeting when we make a final determination on what we want to send to the lawyers.
Mhm. Okay.
Is that okay? Thumbs up?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to flag that because
Okay.
it was one thing that I really needed the trustees to make the policy decision on, not me to just put it in there and
Sure.
Yeah, maybe we could also just talk to Alice and say, hey, what's your, you know, what do you think is reasonable? See what she says. So I can always ask her about that. And we'll bring it up at the next meeting when we go over the whole document.
Matthew, are you okay with them bringing their own like ream of paper and using the copier?
you know what? A lot of patrons ask that too. And honestly, the cost of the paper is not significant compared to the cost of the toner. So bringing
Right.
your own paper doesn't really reduce our cost
Okay.
that much. Right? Paper's like a penny a sheet.
Right.
We get charged 8 cents a sheet to do the supplies for the copier,
Mhm.
especially color.
Okay? Anything else on that? All right. Anything that we want to bring up that was not anticipated within 48 hours? Okay. I think we are adjourned unless anybody has anything else.
I will not be at next month's meeting, Deb, just so you know now.
Maureen? Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah, also,
Uh,
Deb, I'm not at next month's meeting
Yeah.
either. Sorry, I sent you an email.
yeah, I saw, I
Okay.
saw the email, so I knew you were, so if there's a Lakes and Ponds meeting, we're gonna have to arm wrestle, with Lori to get her to attend the meeting, so we have 5 people, so.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So we are adjourned at 7:54.